Hello, you guys, and welcome back to Abundantly Love Podcast. And my name is Gwendolyn Miller. I am the host of the podcast. I am also a licensed professional counselor, and I am the founder of Love Abundantly Ministry. And so, thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening to our podcast and for following me and subscribing to my YouTube page and all the things that you guys are doing to show me that this is helpful. And I'm just praying that whatever we share from this podcast, whenever you hear me speak at different events that I may be speaking at, that or if you even read my books, y'all, I pray that it leads you to growing deeper and deeper in love with God, that it leads to you living a transformed life. That's the whole purpose of this ministry. That is the purpose of this podcast. It's a discipleship movement following Jesus, following the footsteps of Jesus, really understanding what it means to follow him, and then also to examine the things that's in our lives that will block us from following him. And that's a reality too. We have to examine the things that's in our lives that will block us from growing deeper in love with him. What things are holding us back from really seeking him, from really wanting to understand how much he loves us or accept that love for us. I shared in the last podcast about my upbringing a little bit. It was it was 15 minutes, y'all, and I tell people I'm going to write a book about my life. It's going to be coming out soon. Um, but I just gave you a snippet of it. But I shared with you basically one of the roadblocks that I have struggled with in my life that stops me from growing deeper in intimacy with God is mistrust or intimacy with other people. Mistrust. And I share with you that the foundation is my upbringing, the core beliefs that I got from my environment because I grew up in trauma. My dad is an alcoholic. And we used to say he drank too much because we didn't want to admit that he's an alcoholic. And I grew up watching him, excuse me, y'all. Sorry. I grew up witnessing him and my mom fighting and all those things and had to take a drink. And just how that affected me and my viewpoint of the world, of other people, and also my viewpoint of God. I shared in the last episode about object relativity. And with that, basically, it's whatever the object that's in our lives right now, like, for example, my closeness or my dad or someone like that, that relationship or my feelings towards him because he is my father, my earthly father. I can take that and then project it onto God. That's projection, that object relativity. And one of the things I share that I have projected onto God is that I can't trust him because he's going to allow me to be hurt. I'm not going to be protected. And that's something that I didn't say out loud, but my behavior and my mistrust of him and how difficult it's been over my years to trust him. Now, y'all, let me tell you, I've been a disciple of Jesus for 27 years, going on 27 years on July the 5th. And over my years, most of the things that I've gone through was to show me God's character and to show me where I didn't trust him at and how I needed to grow in trust. Trust has been the theme of my life, and I know that I am not by myself. How many of you out there can relate to this? Trusting God, to me, it can be an abstract thing. It was, sometimes people walk up to you and say, you just need to trust God. I remember somebody coming up and telling me that I just need to trust God, and I wanted to hit him or hit her or whoever it was, because in my mind I thought if it was that easy, don't you think I would have done it already? It frustrated me, right? How many of you guys are feeling frustrated out there because you struggle with trusting God? And it's okay. It's just things that we need to learn in order for us to grow deeper in trusting him. And one thing for me, y'all, that I had to understand is God's character. Is learning God's character. because God's character is not like my earthly dad's character. Catch that. God's character is not like your earthly father's character. It's not. But when we have these harmful core beliefs, what we do is we place our earthly father's character onto God's character, and we think that when we go through certain situations, that's going to be him. That's how he's going to respond. So, for example, and I shared this a little bit in last episode, how I was struggling with my finances, and that's the thing, that's the test that gets me every single time. I've grown it over the years, but it's been a struggle. My finances was horrible, and not knowing how I was going to pay certain bills, and I was crying out to God, and every part of me was feeling afraid that I wasn't going to be able to take care of whatever it was I was going to take care of. And y'all, let me tell you, God supplied everything. Let me give you a story. I remember, sorry, I got allergies, but I remember one time where I had quit teaching full time in New York, and I had started a not-for-profit that I was using to go into schools to help kids. And it was a pilot of it, but I didn't really have a full-time job, and I was substitute teaching too. And it was going into the summer. And at that time, me and my roommate, we decided to split up, because I had a roommate at the time, and we were going to give up the apartment, and we were going to both move in our separate ways, right? And so from there, as I'm looking for apartments, people are asking me about my job status. And when I tell them I had the money, but I didn't have a permanent job, they denied me for the apartments, even though I had $5,000 that I was given for my program, and I had the money to pay the rent and everything like that. I was denied. And so and we had to be out of our place, our apartment, by, let's say it was May, we had to be out by June or something like that. And by the end of June, I still didn't know where I was going to live. And I called the people and I asked them if they can extend my lease. And they said yes. So they extended my lease. So that was God right there, right? Giving me favor that they would extend my lease. So during that time, as I'm sitting there still trying to figure out where I was going to live, I remember sitting at my desk and hearing a Marette Brown Clark song. And it said, oh my goodness, I can't remember the name of the song right now. But perimenopause, y'all, your mind go like that sometimes. Be in the middle of the study, but forget what you said. But it was Marette Brown Clark's song. But I remember sitting at the table and the song came on. It ain't over till God says it's over. Oh, that was gonna bug me. But it ain't over till God says it's over, right? And so I remember that song coming on as I'm in the middle of this and telling me it ain't over until God says it's over. And I was bawling. I'm very dramatic, if y'all can't tell by now, but I was bawling. I was falling on the floor like, God, what are we going to do? And everything like that. And as soon as I got myself together, I got a call from a teen that I was mentoring at that time. And she asked me what I was doing, how I was doing, and stuff like that. And I told her that I was afraid because I didn't know where I was going to move, and I got to be out this apartment and everything like that. And her mom heard me tell the story in the background, and she was like, what are you worried about? Her mom said this in the background. She said, you could come and stay with us. Now, I was in Harlem. They lived in the Bronx, and they had a house, whereas the basement was a 1-bedroom apartment. I didn't know all of that. And that was God opened up the door to take care of me through someone else. So even though I didn't know where I was about to move to, I didn't have anything permanent, they opened up their house to allow me to move in downstairs in their basement apartment. And I stayed there until God, catch this, I prayed a prayer. I wanted to get a 3-bedroom apartment in Harlem for around $800, $900 or something like that. Y'all, that is unheard of. But that's the kind of faith I got. I asked God for the craziest things, and he does it. I've seen him do some amazing things, y'all. So I prayed this prayer, and he answered it. I got a 3-bedroom apartment in Harlem. Now, mind you, I should have been more specific about the location, but I got what I asked for, and I was able to move in there. But I'm sharing with you guys this story because I wanted to share with you evidence of how my mistrust leads me to get so emotionally overwhelmed and stressed and all those different things, and blocks me and can block me from really seeing God work. But I saw him working in that. I saw him working through the girl that I was mentoring, her mom. And then from there, another person that I knew who had the apartment that connected me to their landlord. And then from there, I was able to move in. It's like God was moving in all those dots. But I had to learn how to trust him initially. Now, let me go back to what I was saying earlier about his character. I had to understand how to get to know God deeper. And how do we get to know God deeper? By getting to know Jesus. Let me read y'all this scripture real quick, okay? It's in John 14. I'm going to use my phone. So in John 14, it says, and Jesus is talking to his disciples there. Sorry, I wasn't prepared, y'all. Forgive me. The Spirit just told me that I need to read this scripture to y'all. So let me pull it up real quick. So in John 14 and in verse 9, well, let's start in verse 8. Philip said, no, let's go back a little bit more. Let's go to verse 6. Jesus answered, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. If you really know me, you would know my Father as well. Now, hear that. Jesus is saying, if we really know him, then we will know his Father, the Father as well. From now on, you do know him and have seen him. Now, catch what Philip said. Philip said, Lord, show us the Father, and that will be enough for us. He missed the lesson there. He missed what Jesus was saying in that point. Let me make sure I say this again to you so that you won't miss it. Jesus said, if you really know me, you will know my Father as well. From now on, you do know him and have seen him. Jesus is saying, in order for us to get to know the Father, we got to get to know him. In order for us to get to know the Father, to get to know God's character, who God really is, we have to get to know Jesus. Notice what Jesus says to Philip. In verse 9, Jesus says, don't you know me, Philip? Even after I have been among you such a long time, I could just imagine his heart being hurt, because all the time that he's been with the disciples, he's been showing them this is what the Father looks like. If you see me, you see the Father. Anyone, he says this, anyone who has seen me, again, he had to say it again, has seen the Father. Anyone who has seen me has seen the Father. How can you say, show us the Father? Don't you believe that I am in the Father and that the Father is in me? The words I say to you, I do not speak on my own authority. Rather, it is the Father living in me who is doing his work. Believe me when I say that I am in the Father and the Father is in me. Now, go back and read the rest of John 14 for yourself. But I wanted to read that to point out, in order for us to get to know God's character, we have to get to know Jesus. Some of us, and I'm going to say, and you probably fall into this place, think that we already know Jesus. Now I have to put this out there. And I have to ask this question. Have you read the Bible? Have you read Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, the scriptures that talk about Jesus? Or do you think you know him based on what other people have said about him? Or based on what your pastors say about him? Let me ask it in this way. You got a friend, and someone comes to your friend to try to find out more about you. And your friend tells them a little bit about who you are. And they go off. Do they go off thinking that they already know you? What would you do in that situation if someone does that? If they go to your friend to try to find out more about who you are, and they don't come to you? How would that make you feel? Would you feel offended? Can you imagine Jesus feels the same way? The feelings that we have, y'all remember the emotions that we have, we're created in God's image. So some of the emotions that we have, we get them from God. God hurts too. He's angry. He's sad. He gets jealous. He experienced the frustration, all the different things that we experience. So I can imagine Jesus feeling hurt by us not coming to him to get to know him. How do we get to know him? By spending time with him in the Word. That's the beginning of us learning how to have intimacy with God. Y'all, the next part of this episode is going to be us digging more into understanding more about the character of Jesus, pulling out a little bit about his character and contrasting it with the characters of those that's in our lives that we may be projecting onto him. I'm going to use my dad as an example, but we're going to do this. And for you, I want you to practice this at home. For you to look at the character of Jesus, and then from there to contrast it with someone in your life that you've been viewing him through. Thank you guys for showing up, listening to this episode. Again, follow me on my Instagram page on the Love Abundantly Ministry, on Facebook, Love Abundantly Ministry, on TikTok too. I forgot to mention that. I'm on TikTok, and subscribe to my YouTube page. And also at the same time, join me on Patreon. I'm going to be posting a lot of things on Patreon and get my books. My books. They're on Amazon. 40 Years of Virgin is on Amazon. It's on Malika Miller. And my other book, Healing Inside Out, Outside In, is on Amazon also under Gwendolyn. So check out the next episode. I look forward to connecting with y'all. Reach out to me, loveabundantlyministry@gmail.com for any comments or questions. All right. Have a good day.